Hi everyone. I've had a lot of time to think this year after breaking my leg and not being able to work. The climate crisis is the outstanding issue for me. Indeed, for both myself and Denise. We don't have children of our own, but every time I see our little great nieces and nephews or the young children in our neighborhood, I am saddened by what our and previous generations are leaving them to face going forward. You know, we have been incredibly lucky to be born and live in this great country. We have had everything we could ever have wanted and been able to thrive and prosper for decades and decades. The problem with this is that we've become entitled and lazy. My father was waiting in Montreal after basic training to get on a ship bound for Europe in 1945 when VE Day happened and the Second World War was over. I know a lot of people older than me whose fathers did go to the war and were lucky enough to come home. Of course, a lot of people didn't come home, and that's very important to remember right now as November the 11th approaches. But since that time, 75 years ago, in this country at least, we have lived with peace and prosperity. Now obviously, there are thousands of brave men and women who have volunteered to serve in our military and go off to dangerous places around the world in our role as peacekeepers. But there have been no other worldwide conflicts until now. It struck me recently that whenever there has been a war in the past, who is it that are sent into battle? It is the young people. And that is what we are doing now with our own young generation and the ones coming after them. We have made this mess for them, and we are expecting them to march off to battle with it. Why? They didn't sign up for this. It isn't of their own doing. As Greta Thunberg said at the UN recently, how dare we do this to them? This is our world war. We have 10 years to do what must be done, or we all might as well just try and get a ticket to Mars. Yes, people are concerned about this. It is terrifying a lot of them. But if you ask them if they are willing to sacrifice anything at all to pay for what we have to do, well then the answer is no. Again, why? Because we have become entitled and lazy. During World War II, here at home, people did whatever was asked of them by the government to help the war effort overseas. Food rations, fuel rations, scrap metal and rubber drives, victory gardens, and on and on. We knew that we had to do this because that fight was so critical to the future of our world and to our lives. Please explain to me how our situation now is any different. I can't sit by and watch this happening, my own guilt for this being one of the reasons. We just had our federal election in this country, and soon the politicians will be making their way back to governing force in Ottawa. A lot of promises have been made about the environment, just as there were a lot made during the last election and at Paris in 2015. Unfortunately, we haven't kept any of them. In the last 4 years, our carbon emissions had just continued to climb and climb. And yes, we are not alone. I know that. But we can only deal with our own country and lead others by example. Waiting is not an option. We have until 2030 to accomplish what we have to do, or it is game over. My plan is to go to Ottawa and be at Parliament Hill every day in the coming months and be vocal and remind these people that they have a huge and critical job to do and not let them forget it. I'm sure that after I'm there for a while, that I will be joined by others as well. I'm going to wear a sign that says, if 16-year-old Greta can sit in front of her parliament in the winter, then so can 61-year-old John. Work strike for climate. I know that most people with their own young families can't possibly consider doing something like this, and that is why I want to do it for them, to be their voice on the Hill. I am also hoping that I won't just attract other young people to join me, because they should be in school, but older generations as well, because as I said, this is everyone's battle for the future, not just the young people. If you're retired, come and join me when you can. If you work, come and join me when you can, for as long as you can. As I mentioned at the beginning, I have not been able to work for the last 6 months, and I am self-employed, so I am flat broke right now. I've reached out to a hotel in downtown Ottawa, and they have agreed to give me a discount for a long-term room rental, starting on November the 6th. That is why I have started this GoFundMe campaign, to raise the necessary funds to allow me to go and do this on behalf of you. I will also be selling my work van to help with this as well, just so you know that I have my own skin in the game. If we had the means to do this on our own, we would, but our reality is different. I am going to go to Ottawa as a wounded soldier in the battle against the climate crisis, and I need your help. Please give what you can to help me do this, to do this for your children and your grandchildren. Thank you.